You there, honey?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, they must have team play.
Yeah.
How'd you guys
we
do?
just like we're the same clothes.
Yeah, and just been
You guys win?
Yeah.
All right,
very good.
that's a good thing. Awesome. Well, I think we're-
We played Monday, the first San Jacinto.
I know, we followed you.
Yeah, well, no,
Nine.
our team was on the other.
Yeah.
Played Desert
we'll allow-
Falls that was last year, and a bunch of sandbags. Yeah. A bunch of sandbags. I won my match 6-1.
Only net, you guys only play net?
We only played that.
We got 1.5 points.
I had to give 8 strokes to both the guys. I don't like giving 8 strokes. But yeah, we lost 10-14. But they're
You want me to start off with
Desert Falls.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Last year.
What's up?
the desert landscape. Just
Good.
so they put in together the background. No, I guess what I was gonna say, they wanted me to take stuff back.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, gave us money. The company gave us money, we're putting the RFC together to take to the fight.
And the whole big package, so the board can see it all.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'd like to call a meeting to order. Special meeting that we have.
Hey, hang on, guys. I'm gonna have to call back in. I'm getting a lot of interference.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay, it's gone now. I don't know what happened. That was weird.
There you go.
Okay, we're good.
It's not on. I don't know. We don't have enough people here to worry about microphones. You guys can all hear, right?
Well, can Jaime hear?
Melissa, you can hear? Like me?
I prefer microphones. Personally, if you're asking.
It wasn't working.
They're
so
not
he was-
working.
Yeah.
They're not, well, then, I think waste is limited, isn't it?
Hello. Hello. No.
Okay.
There we go. Somebody's is working.
Yours is not turned on.
It's working. No, it's turned on. Yeah. Good work. Hello?
It's turning on.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Eric, Charles, you have a couple things you want to talk about with the Xeriscape project?
Yeah, just real quick, we did have it on the agenda, we didn't get the package done in time, but what we're working on the desert landscaping on the holes 118, 17, Mission Springs Water District has granted us $80,000. And so has Desert Water District also given us $80,000. So we are putting together the RFCA to take to the finance committee. The whole package of all the bids and everything else. It'll be going to the finance committee next week and then hopefully by next month to the board. But so at this point, that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I want to verify, we do have 3 bids.
Yes.
Correct, right? Okay, because that's been.
Well, what we did was we had about 5 bids. We narrowed it down to 2 consumers and then we sent an RFP out to them. And then they returned that back to us. So.
Okay.
Well said.
All right, next topic that we have would be the card fees. And we had a recommendation from the finance committee for that. Bill Aldrich, would you want to go over that real quick?
I can do that. I moved for the board to approve the presentation by the finance committee for the cart annual trail fees in the amounts of $800 for the 2 people on a cart, $600 for 1 person on the cart, which is 182 people. And by the way, it was 100 people on the 2 people per cart, and then 600 for the first cart of having 2, and 400 for the second cart of the 2. And private carts at 100 for a total revenue of $203,800. That's my motion from the finance committee.
Okay. Do we have anybody that wants to second that? Or do we want to go to discussion? Okay, let's go to discussion.
That was second.
Okay, I'll
Second
second
for
it, so we can
discussion.
discussion.
Okay. Let's go to discussion then, as far as. Anybody have a different idea or? I know there were some things that were mentioned. So, speak up now.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we go to $660, which essentially in the math would be about the same for the finance committee's recommendation for raising funds. $660 across the board for all private carts instead of the two-tiered system.
Okay,
With the second
Except
card
for
going up to 325.
With the second part going up to 325.
yeah. Okay, any other changes that we'd like to discuss?
I'd like the community cart fee to go back down to $60 instead of 100.
Now, that would be the fee that anybody that just drives on the street would have. Okay. And the important thing is that none of this would affect the dollars that are coming in to the club. That we can't have any fewer dollars, so so long as that equates out to the same amount, which is 203,000. What you have here?
203,800.
203,800. That would be absolutely 100% required. So I believe. Can we verify that those
It's
numbers?
not
are
necessarily,
accurate?
it's not, that's not a true statement in the way of, if we go to the 660, basically it stays within the budget that we've covered. Instead of I think it was a $4,200 profit, it's down to about $250 with the 660, but it stays within the budget.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's,
I'd like to, the finance committee also discussed this type of arrangement, several things were tossed out. And we just looked at, there's 3 revenue streams for the corporation, our dues, the golf shop, and the inn. And so it's just difficult to mine money. And so it was, a lot of work went into finding out how much use each one of these carts was using. And yes, what it does is it identifies that 2 people on a cart puts more pressure on the golf course, 1 person on a cart, less pressure. And so that's kind of behind the mentality of this. When you have 2 people on a cart, there was 5 people on the committee that it affects directly. And so anything less would be less out of our pocketbook. But the idea was to generate more funds from the 2 people on 1 cart, because the cart is either being used together or every other day. So that was the benefit of that. And then of course the reduced rental fee for that gave the $800 people a bigger break, because we have to rent a cart when our spouse uses the cart. So that was the whole purpose behind that. And again, it's just an option. And yes, we looked at the other opportunities. As a matter of fact, I made a proposal to the board that I laid out a few ways of doing it. The finance committee's proposal, I did a COLA 9.2% across the board on everything to come up with the funds. And that's, that was arguable of, a sort of realistic approach. And then of course is coming up with whatever that number is to equal the funds, the 2,000 or 206,000 or so. So that's I guess it's important to note that I don't want to get into it too much. As you all know, there's a lot of work to try to raise income and lower costs. So I'll just leave it at that.
well, I know one of the things that most golf courses would prefer would be to have fewer carts in a foursome. It's less wear and tear on the golf course. Is that right, Mr. Eric?
That's a correct statement.
So if we were able to get people to,
It's changing that mentality after COVID, but I mean,
Yeah.
people are pretty comfortable where they're at with individual carts.
I just remember every place I've ever played, they almost, it's mandatory. 2 on a cart. It's less wear and tear on the golf course, so to me, that would be a motivation for more people to pair up if possible, and so long as everybody pays their trail fees, they're within the bounds of riding with each other and not having to pay an additional fee. It's the people that don't pay a trail fee that we get caught.
Well, and it was always that, 2 riders to a cart here, we tried to always do the same thing, and it's part of the social fabric of golf. A lot of times, I think a lot of us would like to get back to riding with friends again, and I've got a broke down golf cart, so I'm hoping I get to ride with somebody. But,
But one of the things about that is you could ride with me anytime, I'd ride with you. But I didn't like, several times in the past, I got in arguments with the pro shop over being told I had to put an outside play person in my cart, which I absolutely refused to do. And I pulled out of a high-low that morning because I was not going to allow a public player in my cart. I don't like somebody I don't know. It's not a friend
Yeah,
in my cart, but they're a member, I've done it. But when Margaret Duncan came out to me and said, you're not playing unless there's no more than 2 carts, or I said, well, then I'm not playing, and I went home.
that same thing happened to me, Steve, and I brought it up to Robert and David and just said, any member is welcome in my cart anytime, but you just paired me with an outside play, and I made it through 9 holes, and the guy was obnoxious, and he wasn't a member here. And I mean, I'm with you on that. I don't think that should ever be forced on the membership. But I'd like to see us get back to that. I think I see 2 people in a cart more and more now than we have, and trying to get past what we all lived through the last few years. I want to ride with
I don't
somebody
think
again.
we're quite there yet.
Probably.
This has been a rough season.
So I think the other, from what I've heard from.
All right, hold on. We're not voting on 2 people in a cart today, are we?
No,
no,
Okay, good. I'm
Just-
against that 100%.
just trail fees.
Okay, good. Let's get back to the trail fees in and quit talking about the 2 people in the cart, please.
now, Dave, when you brought up the 660 deal, which I can totally buy into. Would you also remove the $10 cart fee? That was part of the perks of going to the $800 section.
It sounded like we needed on the rental fee. It sounded like we needed, in order to make the numbers work, Bill, we needed to keep that rental fee up at the higher price in order for the 660, or we'd have to go back and do some more math. It'd have to be 662 or something, but I think according to Bill, we needed to keep it
I
at
think
25,
you're right. When I ran the numbers myself, I think you're right.
which is,
I think nothing can change on that in order to keep it within the budget. And actually, that's truly what we're trying to do, is to not change the numbers, because I think we all agree, because we passed the budget, that the numbers work. It's just that, and I know I feel, and I know there's a couple other members here on the board, feel that we don't like to have the 2-tiered system going into place. I think right now this club is equal. Everybody pays the same for everything. And I think that it needs to remain that way. I think we're looking at a very slippery slope if we start categorizing payments, because it could really change things in the future. So I, for one, that is why I would like to see this go through as the 660 as a full, as for everyone, because it doesn't change the money in the budget. So it just makes it an equal, we're all equal again.
We are equal.
I'd like to go on the record and I know some are gonna say, I can't believe this man's saying this, but I want to go on the record thanking Bill and the finance committee for the hard work that they did. You know, we have a role, we have a fiduciary. And we did have a couple of members of the finance committee that assumed we had no role, there was no reason to open the budget, but there is. I mean, we have a fiduciary, we have a role too. But I'd like to think there was a lot of hard work. It was a good budget. And so, you know, we all have our role.
Okay. So, we can take some member comments if you like.
I just have a question. What are you
Sure.
doing about the individual trail fee,
The individual trail,
individual cart fee? What are you doing about that? We
individual,
budgeted $25 for individual cart fee. Are you leaving it at $25 so that those of us who spouse uses the cart, we have to rent a cart and it's $25 because that's what's in the budget?
I believe
That's what we just.
that's
the direct-
exactly what they were just talking about.
So you're leaving it at 25?
Yes, and that is at the discretion of David Goldstein, who is the pro. He sets the prices of the golf cart rentals. So that's basically, you know, he gets a recommendation from the finance committee, but he's the one that actually is in charge of his shop in there. So he does set those prices.
One other
Yes,
One other question, statement I will tell you, and I know Jaime doesn't want to talk about two people in a cart, but we played against PGA West today here, and I asked them if they had gone back to mandatory two people in a cart, and they said yes. Their course has gone back because of the compaction, because it compacts the grass and the wear and tear on the course. So PGA West, all 6 courses are two in a cart, at least if you're a member.
I understand that's, they had some rough situations over there at PGA, trying to get their stuff back. So their grass growing, so. Melissa,
I'm just asking for clarification. You're saying you're proposing that it's $600 for one person, one cart.
no, 660.
What happened to the 8 for 2?
that was the original.
That was the
proposal from
original.
Finance committee.
Oh, did you amend it while I was shutting the door?
No, they were doing it now. The original
I'm trying to pay
proposal was for, if you had 2 people on a cart, you and Ray, you would pay $800 trail fees, but your rental fee to rent a cart would be $10.
Oh,
so-
10.
10.
So Ray and I are playing on the same day, but we're playing with different people. I go to the pro shop. I paid my $800 as a family of 2, and I'm paying another 10 to rent a cart on that day.
Every
Is that
time you
correct?
rent a cart for the year, it's $10.
Okay, I have to rent a cart, but I paid the extra $200. Did I pay $800 for my household?
That was the original one.
The original one.
Yeah, it's $660 for one household. Is that correct?
Now, the 660 will require you to pay $25 for a rental.
Okay, but it's just a
If
flat
David
fee for
decides
2
that
people.
you're
Flat fee.
leaving that up.
Flat fee. Holly and I are gonna pay the same amount. She's
Correct.
a singleton golfer.
Correct.
We are due, okay.
Correct.
And my second, good, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. And my second clarification is, what is your rationale for lowering the price for people that want to drive on common areas? Not on the streets, because
It's not actually lowering it, it's leaving it where it is.
then why aren't you raising it to the same proportion that we're paying? I'm just asking that question
Um,
as a rationale.
It was
What's the
mainly
rationale?
because the majority of those folks are using the golf carts in a public street.
Then why are you charging at all?
Because it's something that they've been put in the deal, and it's been paid ever since God knows how long.
So we.
40, 50 years?
We're just gonna do it again. That's just the way it's always been, so that's what we're doing, that's your rationale.
No, my rationale, Melissa, was they wanted to charge him $100.
Okay,
I said, leave it alone, but that's what she says. I don't want to charge those people any
and why
more
are
than
you
what we've been charging them.
It's just a street fee. I'm asking for rationale, not criticism.
On the golf course too, they're using the.
If they drive on our club grounds,
Correct.
then they are subjected to a fee.
You
That's
are-
what the fee allegedly was for.
Fair enough, if that's our rationale, why aren't we bumping it up the same degree that we have bumped up everybody else's question? That's all.
Let me
I
ask
mean,
you.
with the rationale here, I just want to understand so I can objectively sell this to other members,
Oh, okay, well,
which I
May-
can't do yet because I
May-
haven't heard the rationale.
okay, first,
How many people just use trail fees?
36.
36 that actually pay it. There's a lot more that don't,
Okay, but
They use
36
it.
people that pay it.
that pay it.
So that's not a whole hell of a lot. of
No, and the majority of them are your Diane Beards. Yeah, Sandra, who doesn't play golf, these are people that don't play golf, they drive to the clubhouse, and most of them are in their 80s and 90s. And the good majority of them
Well,
are.
it's only 36 people, even if,
It's money spent, I understand that, I did not see a reason, why I've only moved in here in January. That was, that kind of thing, so I'm still new to it. We're still on the roads, we're still using the roads, just like you pay registration to use the roads on your car. And I pay extra because I drive all electric, I pay extra for my car as well, I don't see a problem with that. Especially what we're looking for here is income to keep us all going.
My concern with the community cart trail fee was who was actually complying with the rule. And so many people were not complying with the rule, and we have very low ways of enforcing that. And so raising the fee on the few, mainly widows, who I want coming up here to play bridge and coming up here to do activities at the club and coming up to use the club. I want them to stay involved and get out of the house. And I probably prefer them driving a golf cart than an automobile.
I lived in Reachboro.
Not to judge, but I just felt like raising the fee on them while we let so many other people just get away with not paying it altogether. The people I have the most trouble with being on places where they shouldn't be, I go up and they don't have a tag on their card. It's almost 100%.
Is the community tag different than the regular? Yeah. Is it? It never occurred to me not to pay something that was on an invoice here.
Well, because you're
It's true.
decent human
I
being.
try. And I.
Peggy, it is different.
Florida, did you hear about the councilwoman who doesn't have a tag on the card, trying to get out of the fine?
I saw that.
okay, let's move on.
Is the community sticker different than the
Yes.
one that the,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, so you can tell which sticker is, okay, thank you.
and they were very careful about that when they put it, 'cause we had bought the cart from the house. From people from the, and so they had to take that other one, they had to cover it, because they had a trail one. To make sure that ours is not a trail.
I'd like to second Dave's motion and Susan's.
We need to amend our motion.
You're not. Excuse me, we need to amend the business certificate.
Yeah, you can't second.
I just.
This
I
is not a
said-
motion, but they.
I said we're gonna.
Right. We have to rescind the first one.
We're discussing it right now. I'm amending the motion.
Okay, let's vote on the first motion. Okay, the first motion was Bill's
Well,
motion.
he never got a second.
He did get a second.
Oh, you did.
So let's make a vote on that. So, all for, the first motion, that Bill Aldrich had. Aye, say aye.
Aye.
All against, nay.
Nay.
Hey,
Okay, so we have one aye and 4 nays, or 5 nays. Yeah, I mean,
Now you can make the motion.
okay,
Before we make the next motion, I'm worried a little bit about the math, because Susan brought up the caveat of changing. From what I think the spirit of the budget coming out of finance was to move it up to $100 on that. On the people that aren't using their cart on the golf course. So if we take that back to $60, or we're gonna be off $1,600.
You'll still be fine. I mean,
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
okay, I'd like to make a motion that we move to have one tiered system at $660. That we, for the trail fees for everybody, that we move the second cart trail fee to $325. And that we leave the non-golf course cart use at what it was last year, which was $60.
And also the $25.
Oh, and then, we would have a $25 cart rental fee in place.
Second,
After the second.
Okay, any additional discussion?
I have a
Okay.
question. The $25, is that after the 7 free ones?
Yes.
Yes.
So we still have the 73 months.
Only if your cart's not operating.
Only if you're not operating, yeah.
Out of curiosity, why is the second cart only $3.25?
It's up from 275.
No, no.
It was
$3.75, why is it only why isn't it
325.
$6?
No,
You know, that's a great question, and I asked it too, and I think what we came up with is we heard that the industry standard. And for a lot of other clubs kind of utilize that, and that was what we inherited, what I inherited when I came into this role. Was that two price system for the second, but it sounded, Eric, that was fairly common in the industry.
yes.
Okay,
It almost sounds like you're encouraging people to ride alone
and we're not.
with another cart.
And you do have that, people that do own 2 carts and they go out to play, just force them, they all take their own carts. So that's a lot of usage on that.
It is.
And that cart's going every day for $300 and some, and the other one is going for 6, whatever. I mean, it doesn't.
well, we're trying to get back into the doubling up, Peggy, that and. I think if David and the board have a talk, I think that we can do that. I'm in agreement with Steve, though, outside play,
Oh, yeah.
they need to rent a car.
Yeah.
They're not gonna drive with me. They
Well,
need to
even-
rent a car.
Even if the club isn't ready to institute a mandatory for people, we can certainly encourage it. We have been encouraging it already.
Yeah.
And I think maybe over the next year or two, we just keep encouraging people to ride with a friend if they can, and they own it's your golf course. It's gonna be better for it.
And I think couples, some should really
Mhm.
encourage couples. There's no reason why couples are out there with 2 carts.
No. I agree.
But again, you're encouraging it by keeping that second cart low.
Okay,
I remember the primary family that did that, the sort of the most prominent family that uses the 2 carts has a handicapped dependent that they often bring out with them on the course. So, yeah, that leaves them
That's
at
one
a 3 player. There were only 11 of these. The other ones I suspect are people on deeds who need a second cart because they're not really a couple, they're not really a family unit of any kind. They're just on the deed.
Once
That's
again,
speculation.
once again, do we know how many families in here have 2 carts?
11 total.
So we're looking at 36 versus 11.
100.
It's not a big.
We have 100 2-person carts. We have 182 1-person carts.
No, you talked about couples versus singles. He's talking about people that get the extra card.
Yes,
How many do we have? on the list?
Having 2 cart families.
There's 11.
Right.
yeah, 11 2-cart families.
And some of those may not be families, to Steve's point, it may be this 2 people on the deed thing, so.
They ought to be paying full boat.
They should.
And we're past this, but yes, we increased the second cart up to 400 to bring it. But we didn't raise the first cart, so it kind of evens out. So that was our proposal.
But we still fall under the budget.
Yeah, well, I don't, did you run this by David Elsing? Because he was intimately involved in developing this.
So it all falls under the budget and the motion is on the floor. It was seconded by me.
I think we just need to make the motion more clear, the second motion. So $660 for trip fees. $325 for second card, community card stays at 60, rental card is at 25, and that's where the motion stands.
Yeah.
And no discount on cart rental?
No discount on a card rental, $25.
So what does that equal? Doing the math, are you there?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, it still
It
falls
was-
under the budget.
To
But
fund,
if people aren't, or they're saying, okay, never mind, I'm not gonna do the $25, are you depending on the $25?
Correct.
well, I tell you, we all, I mean, those numbers were very subjective on how many rented. I mean, if we're gonna get into that part of the conversation, I had major concerns about the projected number of $25 cart rentals. And I think it was gonna
What you
be,
can do is project under what was rented last year. I mean, that's what you can
I
do.
don't,
There's a whole lot, to me, there's a lot of difference between $10 and $25.
well, what did we pay last year? Was it 20? 20 last year, that's what I remember. So it never was 10.
Yeah, November started at 25. Yeah.
that's totally up to our director of golf. If he should decide that he wants to rent those carts out at $20 instead of 25 or $10, that's his decision. We have to leave that for him.
Yeah.
Because we don't control David.
The only thing you need to remember is that David is the one that brought the original trail fee, the 800 and the 600
Right,
to us when we talked to
that's
him.
right. And the
So
cart fee.
that's what he brought.
Yeah. So,
And we did, we looked at the recommendation as a board.
so in answer to your question, the original proposal was, for this trail fees were $200,550 and latest proposal that I worked out without this, was $1,600 for the 36. So it's, 190, can't really see that, 196 and some change. So about 4,000 less.
So once again, from the budget, we had a $4,500 profit at the bottom.
Right.
And this just decreased it down to 258 that the board voted.
Is there a place between these numbers?
No.
Is there, don't take it to 100, but maybe still be over 60?
There's a question, when we have these tournaments that we're a couple, but we're split up because of the format of the tournament. That means we're paying $25 because you're forcing us to split up as a couple? Or do we now have the ability to say, we're gonna play together, which we never have had in the past? Where we've had we've had many tournaments that you split up couples. So I'm just trying to figure out, when are we going to be now? Trying to figure that out.
So
I think David's gonna have this discretion. I think we're getting down into
But we
this.
haven't made any changes on that.
I was gonna say, whatever you did last year is the same this year.
Okay,
So I don't know how you went about it last year.
Normally, when you get back into things, you would ride with your, whoever you're doing, in your foursome with somebody. It's always just been two carts out there.
We just arranged to ride with.
As long as that's,
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is you're saying the cart rental fees will be $20 instead of 25.
25.
$25.
Well, we recommended that in the original thing and give them a break. So is that what Dave was proposing still?
It's still $25. That's what we budgeted
Well,
on the rental
in
car.
order to keep the numbers the way they came out of the finance committee, we're gonna have to make that concession to keep the one-tier system. And I think we all know that $25 cart rental for a member is really high. I mean, there are a lot of clubs where there's no cart rental fee for members, so obviously, that's what our budget dictates this year. And maybe down the road, we could go a different route. But
Remember last, we were discussing this once before, I remember I brought up, really the only people who are paying a cart rental. Because the cart rental is into the fee of a guest, an outside player. So the only people paying cart fees are us, our members.
So,
Okay, so let's go ahead and go to a vote. All in favor of the motion by Dave Stanley, seconded by Sam?
I,
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we got 5-1. Motion passes.
So this will have to be posted for 30 days.
Yeah, it'll be posted for 30 days, basically. These cart fees won't be due until January 9th. Is that correct, Eric?
Right.
So after the 9th, then they'll be due. Okay, any other comments from anybody about anything? Yes.
you know, I know your next topic is going to be turf reduction and receiving free money from the water districts.
Mhm.
I believe it's 168,000 that we have to do the turf removal within 180 days, am I correct?
Actually, I believe it's April, we have to be done by April
22nd.
22nd.
So it's less than 100.
Clock's already been ticking.
Okay. Okay, and it's also on my understanding, the turf removal is gonna be up against the houses from number one, from Pinehurst, number one, all the way around, down 18, 17, up to the cart path on Pinehurst, on 17.
I believe it's where the entrances, am I correct?
Yeah,
From-
Pinehurst Circle.
From
access.
the Pinehurst Circle access,
Yes.
so not all the way down to the green. So it won't be by Blair's house or any of that.
Okay, well, okay, it's fine, but, you know, you realize that about 60% of those homes that abut that golf course in that area, there's only about 15 feet between their property line and that golf cart.
Mhm.
It makes no sense. You know, you've got the water turned off now, the grass is not growing, takes no money to maintain that 10, 12-foot strip. In fact, in front of my house, less than 10 feet. Why would you turn that to detriment? The other item is the maintenance of it. Now, I know you voted on last time to take care of the maintenance from number 3, number 4, number 5. The desertscape there, which is in horrible condition. There still is in horrible condition. Weeds, the irrigation system doesn't work, on and on and on, and we're gonna get the same thing in front of our house? That's a question, okay? And then it comes around to free money. Free money comes with attachments. You have to give something up, to take that money. Every grant I've ever dealt with in my life, you've got to give something to get that free money. What are we giving? Are we giving up water rights? What other rights are we giving up to get this free money? And then thirdly, we have what, 90 days, about 100 days to get this thing complete. We can't build an outhouse in 180 days. How are you gonna get the turf removal done in 120 or 90 days? Makes no sense. I think you're premature taking this money. I think it needs to be further vetted. Hopefully you get a future planning or a strategic planning committee going here soon to vet it, to do the cost. What's it gonna cost to put in this turf removal? What's it gonna take to put it in the desertscape? And see if we're really gaining anything by taking free money. Makes no sense.
Jane had her hand up.
Yeah, Jane?
Well, I can address a couple of Bill's concerns, and I certainly understand them. First of all, what we're giving up is that this land can no longer ever go back to being grass again. And what we're doing is removing all of the sprinkler heads that are still there and still in the system that shoot from the homes out to the golf course. We're removing all of those sprinkler heads and full coverage heads. Terminating those, and in some cases, some areas there's quite, probably 100 heads that will be removing altogether. And then the plants that we'll put in there will have drip system, and you're right, Bill, using an example like behind number 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 is not a good example. And the commitment that we have from the contractors is pretty binding, and that what they will emulate is the area behind number 8 where they put down weed mat, pre-AIDS rock, 2 inches deep. And then we'll also be addressing the areas like where golf carts come down from homes. We'll have extra compaction there. It's all 3/8 gravel, no DG, as was floated out earlier. It will look very nice if you like what you see behind number 8.
Well, that brings up one more issue, and that is access from the property. I know you have access on, number 1, there's only 2 houses that have access from their property with a cart path. Going down 18, I think there's about 5.
No, we counted 15.
Yeah, so anyway, the total thing is 15, and you put DG or dirt in front of my cart path and drag all that dirt down my cart path.
It's 3
You
inches
need,
rock.
you need to concrete it from the existing concrete to the existing concrete that are on people's cart paths in their property. Just like they did in front of Dave and.
Well, we,
It cannot be anything that is not permeable, that water cannot drain through. So if we did concrete, we're automatically not
oh,
qualified.
okay. You know, Bill, to one of your questions, and it was the same question I had when I looked at the proposal. And I went to Chester on my question, and my question was the same as you on one of them, and that is, why are we taking an area that actually has a chance of getting a golf ball, or could be in play in certain times, and it isn't very many square feet? And that's the area we're doing, where you could go outside of Mike and Carla's old house, or up number 10. I mean, we can find acres. And we need to, as a club, we need to start thinking about this water savings. This is the direction we're going, and we all know that. So the answer I got from them, and I hadn't considered it, but what I was told from Chester is they wanted to do a showpiece for the membership on what it could look like. Now, that's an entirely different topic, and it could be argued either way. Is that a good idea? You know, maybe we can show members, you know, what it could look like and how it could be maintained, or it could be, let's go after the real root of the problem, and that is trying to reduce turf. And this proposal is probably the weakest turf removal proposal that I think could have come out of committee. But they had another reason for it, whether we agree with it or not. Was that discussed, Jane? Because that's what Chester told me.
Well, yes, at nauseam, and at this point, I mean, and this in some regards is that as much as we have contractors that qualify for this program, I guess ultimately you always can run a risk that the water district won't like a part of what you do, and you know, we've done everything that we possibly can to make sure through the bid process and through our conversations with the water districts that we're gonna make it fly, but still, it would be an awful risk to do 50, 60 acres, or no, I'm sorry, we don't have that many. We've got probably ultimately 35 acres throughout the whole thing in parts and pieces that we can turn to desert scape and reduce the cost of water.
But we chose this really narrow area that really didn't have a lot of square footage, and that was basically,
It's got a lot
Chester
of
told me,
visibility.
your committee said they wanted to use it as a showcase. Barb, is that what you remember too? Okay.
Well, it's a place where the members can see that when we're talking and talking and talking. That was an area that everybody goes near, whether they're going to the pool, the bridge, golf. So that was decided that that's an area that we can, I don't want to say the word showcase so much as to just demonstrate what our intentions are to do turf removal, save water, energy, seed, fuel, and the list goes on and on later. But that was an area that we chose to start.
Well, and Bill, to your concern on the maintenance, I don't think anybody here would argue the fact that the first desert gate we did was terrible. We never maintained it.
We were gonna showcase.
Well, is that what they said back then too? You may even have been on that committee. That one didn't work out well. This one down here didn't work out well. Now, we have gone outside, and the board, or I think the general manager has put out the bid some outside help, because we're already short-staffed Raphael. I mean, we all know it. We're 2 or 3 employees down on Raphael, and now we're gonna heat. There's way less time in mowing that lawn than there is doing that desert scape, believe it or not.
Well, let me take one of them comments that I observed this morning. The tee was a blue tee on number 18. So people drive up on a golf cart or the cart path and they park the cart. Here comes Raphael and his little shopping cart. And to pass these people, because they're in the middle of the golf cart, to pass them, he goes around the left side of the cart. He goes right where the desert space is gonna be. He has no place to go. But he can't go on the right side of it, on the green side, because they have people walking.
That's a great observation. I never considered it.
but the same thing's gonna happen for your house. And you have less than 10 feet,
Right.
makes no sense.
Well,
You got better-
your house is a
better-
bottleneck and
You
and
have
maybe
better
James-
places, you have better places to do the product, other than in front of people's house.
All right, well, thank you. Let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting then, if no one else has any other comments. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay. We're good.
All of them.
All in favor?
Yes.
We don't want.
You don't get somebody.
I know. I know.